part of this enlightenment journey, I guess, in terms of my views on blackness and black people and black culture and, our community, comes from the fact that when I was watching this content, when I would come across these videos, when I was seeing these debates, when I was seeing so many, black women like myself being killed by black men and, having their platforms taken down by black women, all because they had the audacity to say something that was truthful, and people didn't like to hear that truth. People didn't want to be, people did not want to be confronted with, some of the truths of the mistakes that we've made as black people and some of the issues that we face in our community. And black women end up, becoming the casualty. The one thing that I always said was, the fact that in so many ways, some of the, I've heard some black people talk about or treat black people worse than white supremacists. I've had, sometimes when I listen to black people talk, especially black men, it's almost like, I've heard Ku Klux Klan people, say things that were more accepting of black people than some of the things I've heard come out of the mouths of black people. And, if I were to even look at all of the disappointments, the deep disappointments that I experienced, if I were to look at, the people that have thrown me under the bus the most, the people that I'm scared of the most, something that I think I probably said in a previous interview with you or with someone else, if I'm presented with the choice of walking past a group of white guys or a group of black guys, I will walk past the group of white guys every time, because they don't notice me. They don't. And if they do, all they do is just look. I don't receive the same jeering, the catcalling, or, kind of like what I was saying before in another interview about how all of the people in my life who have ever called me a monkey were black men. I remember being in church, being a teenager, and black boy, their nickname for me was Pet Monkey. And I'm like, that's what racist people call us. And you have no problem calling your image, your mirror image, Pet Monkey. And yet, and I don't even know how to say this without sounding really rude, but then if I were to see some of the non-black people that they were entertaining romantically, and I'm like, who are you calling the monkey? Like, sorry, who are you calling the monkey? But, I remember being 18, 19, entering university thinking, nobody hates black women more than black people. Nobody. It is true when Malcolm X said, that the most disrespected person in the world is the black woman. And I completely understand it. And, there's this one amazing author. She's underground now for a variety of reasons. Her name is Kola Booth, and she's originally from Sudan, but she's based in the United States. And she has the most beautiful quote that I've ever heard in my life about black women and blackness. And that is, the black woman, the black girl, is the only flower that is expected to bloom without being watered. So we don't have the protection that a lot of other women of other races have. We don't have the present fathers, because 70% of us are born outside of wedlock. We don't have the protective brothers because our brothers are too busy chasing after white girls. We don't have the society that sees us initially as, the damsel in distress that white and Asian women get to have, because people see us as almost very masculine. People don't seem to realize that because we as black women have grow up in such survival mode, we have no choice but to be operating in our masculine. I see, I would watch videos of black men online talking about how, yeah, when I'm with the black girl, I feel like I'm with a dude. And I'm like, it's because she doesn't feel safe around you. Everybody knows that God created it to be this way. Femininity manifests itself when it feels safe. Black women are so masculine sometimes because we don't feel safe. Our mothers had to be the fathers and the mothers, so they had to step into the role of being a man. There are so many ways in which we've been let down, and then when those things begin to manifest, similar to what white people did to Africa, similar to what the West, I don't want to say white people, but similar to what the West, because I'm aware that there's people and then there's a mentality. Similar to how the West treated Africa. They went into Africa, they infiltrated, did what they had to do for God knows how long. And then when they left us damaged, they then turned around and said, the Negro is a inferior human being. Look at how the Negro takes care of himself in his company. It's kind of like an abusive partner that breaks your soul. And when you finally have enough and slap them in the face, they go around and tell people, oh, this person is the one that abused me. That's exactly what a lot of black women experience. And that's exactly what I what I was experiencing mentally, because like I said before, my family had moved back to Zimbabwe. I had reconnected with my culture. I was talking and friends with the maids. I was talking to the vendors on the streets. I was learning my language again. I was eating the food. I was in school, and it was so weird being in school and the minority students were the white ones. I in so many ways I had connected with my blackness to the point where at some point I just stopped using the word black in Zimbabwe, because in Zimbabwe you don't need to use that word because you're amongst other people. So we were just Shona or Zimbabwean, that kind of thing. But then witnessing this, the world that was waiting for me in my return to the West, is what really then kind of like, I think what I've said before is that there was a solid maybe 2 or 3 years where I did not date black men. I interacted with them platonically. I was friends with them, all that stuff. But I did not consider them romantic options because I did not feel safe at all. And it was always so hard because I would see things like, black women are this. And then it's a bit like, okay, but we grew up in the same household, right? If you look at a lot of the trauma that young black boys experienced when they moved to the West when they were very young, they had black sisters that were living in those homes being traumatized with them. They had black female peers in their classrooms also being looked at when the topic of slavery came up, also being looked at when people would mention black people, also being made fun of for looking different. A lot of the issues that black men had, black women were facing those too. And so then you get to university and you have a brother that looks just like you, and he's turning around and using the same trauma that he went through against you. And seeing that, I was like, white people don't hate me. They just love themselves and they don't care if I'm collateral. That is so much better than someone who actually will point fingers and say, I want to ruin your life. Because I know in our first interview, we talked about how the colonization and infiltration of Africa was very targeted. And I fully believe that. But if I were to look at the modern day Western person, they love themselves, that they don't care who's collateral. They just want to expand themselves. But then if I were to look at the way so many black women are treated in the community, it's almost like we're not collateral, right? Because that would even be better, because that means people would at least leave us alone. No. We are the targets. And no matter what, the goalpost is constantly changing. And I remember seeing that and going through that and just at some point running away from my own blackness as well, the way you talk about the way so many black men, run. But I also know that you've highlighted the point that when women run, it's because they're not safe, but when men run, it's because they don't want to be held accountable. And I think that's a very important thing to consider. I wasn't trying to run away from my blackness. I was just looking for safety. And I realized that the safety is within myself, of course, but my journey to kind of my attitude towards blackness, my relationship towards, the standards that I have and what I expect and the black community really stemmed from being 17, 16 years old and just discovering a world where men that look like me, that look like my dad, talking about me the way I would expect a Nazi to talk about a Jew. Sorry to use extreme examples, but I don't, sorry?
Sorry, it wasn't wrong at all.
Yeah, so it all came because I accidentally discovered a black guy defending black women on YouTube, and it let the amount. That's why I really appreciated it when you defended me online. When I was getting those messages, because I knew it. I could see it coming. That's where a lot of my anxiety was. Every time a black woman comes out and speaks for black people, she still gets attacked. And then it's just, so then when Tiara Payu was killed by that man that stalked her, I just, for a while my Instagram page is private. My own journey to enlightenment really has been going through it. It wasn't just because I picked up a book and realized. It was because I had actively seen and experienced, and at some point I was like, I'm done. And then it didn't help either that a lot of people would say to me like, oh yeah, you look like the type that would be with a white guy. To this very day I still have people say, oh yeah, you're gonna bring home a white dude, we get it, you're gonna marry a white guy, that kind of thing. And because even a lot of the black men, I mean, obviously I'm not putting you in this category, but a lot of the black men who even say, oh, they're pro-black, they will end up with the girls that have like the one drop rule. It's like Tyrese, where it's like, oh, but her great 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 grandmother is black, so she has to, So you see, I do love my black queens. Meanwhile, she looks 90% white and 10% Asian and 5% whatever. She's got 1% of black in her. Her mother went to Zambia for their honeymoon, and suddenly she thinks she's African, and you think that's a black woman. So even the black guys that I would meet that said, oh, I prefer black women. No, they preferred white passing black women, not black women that had short hair and this button nose and this bottom lip and the Southern African, that kind of thing. So for me, it was really, I went through it as a black girl, and that's where, for me, that's where it came from. That's where it came from for me. For me, it was, I just was disappointed that I was the flower that's expected to bloom without being watered. That's where, for me, it all came from.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. And I think everyone at home will agree that we would thank you for that segment right there, because that is what we need. That's what the people need to hear. It's what women need to feel like their voice is going to be given. And so I just want to thank you on behalf of black men and on behalf of black women. Thank you. And all of us as a community, thank you for expressing that. We took a break, and on that break, I was just thinking how amazing this is, that this is finally like a venting area, where you get to vent, where especially, and not in a space where someone's going to try and gaslight you and feel like, oh, it's because you did this, or oh, it's because you did that and you deserve it in a way. Or, I've heard a lot of men say, like we talked about before, oh, you're very masculine, or, oh, yeah, well, if you were like this, we would have picked you, or we tried to, trying to make it as though you would try to pick you, but really we couldn't. All right, where do I start, sis? There's so many ways we can go with this, right? And I'm going to ask the Lord to guide me in the right way we can go. I want to start by saying this because it's the best way. Us black people have completely internalized our experience. We have completely internalized. In fact, I was talking to my brother one time, and I said this is the last person I said it to, so I remember this. And, I look at like Sexy Red.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what you have to say. Go ahead.
And you know how everyone's like, oh my God, we were so this, now we have Sexy Red. And there's something about when I look at those artists, I'm so happy. I think they are direct, because Sexy Red's not pretending to be anybody. She really is that. That's her state right now. And we love you, sister. We just really want you to love yourself and, carry yourself a different way. But I want you to know that we love you. Your brother Harrison, he loves you. So before anybody want to try and chop this up and put it the wrong way, a different way, I love when I see rappers and they're holding guns and they're holding this and they're holding that. I'm very torn. Follow me. And I'm going to give shout out to my mentor. She said this. That's where you get to see that we turned our lemon to lemonade.
Okay.
When I look at rappers, these are kids who are really in the ghetto. And we're just upset now because they've managed to make money out of that. And they've managed to make fame out of it. And now everyone is saying, oh, you're giving us a bad look, or you're giving us a bad whatever, or you're giving us a bad look. I can tell you, if you went to Sexy Red's house, that's how she grew up. Her auntie probably came around talking with that kind of talk. Her mama probably talked that kind of talk. Her uncles probably talked that kind of talk. For all we know, her uncle's crib was probably a brothel. There are a lot of things that happen in these hoods. And I feel like whenever I look at, oh God, please help me bring this today. Whenever I look at the experience, the situations with the black community, whatever, and I ask myself, and I think to myself, yeah, that looks about right. That looks like the people who went through a traumatic experience. Because everyone else is kind of like, why can't you just be like You know, why can't we just be normal and like white people, why is it that you're singing rap songs about killing each other? And yeah, think about it. Why is it? I'm gonna go here for a second. Let me go around. I remember I used to see posts all the time. And I would see posts talking about depression. And this is when I was a happy, you know me, I've always been big dimple, smiling ear for ear. Nothing can take me down, happy-go-lucky guy. That's it. That was my gift. And they used to call me designer, because you know designer. I used to be hyped like that, right? When I was a teenager. And then I experienced life, and then I experienced depression. But when I was a happy child, I would always, youth, 17, 18, 19, 20, I would always see those posts, even 21, 22. I would always see those posts that talk about just think good thoughts. Depression posts. Just think of good thoughts. You know the depression memes and all that. And I'd just be like, just get over the situation. It's okay. Tomorrow will be a good day. Just look towards the light. I was like, get over yourself. Just pick up and go. And then I went through some stuff. And then I had a son, I'm going to say it on this podcast today, who I'm fighting for a place in his life. And then, you know what I'm trying to say? And I'm going through stuff. And then I woke up in the morning from that, and I said to myself, I want to die. And that's really happened. And those little posts I cringed for were posts now I actually lived on. Because I would have been in a spiral of bad thoughts to hate my life. I made this mistake. I'm such an idiot. Not blaming the world, blaming my mistakes. If you weren't done with you, especially the fact that I was successful, I said in the last podcast, I was successful. You had your life, you threw it away, you piece of crap, look at you, you're good for nothing, you did it. I would spend all day beating myself up. And I told you now I was having withdrawals from weed. So I didn't wake up now and hit my Bob Marley. I had to try and survive with that. And I was hitting bottom. And what I learned from that period of my life, when those little Instagram memes with a little quote on it that don't think about the past, tomorrow will be a bright day, everything will work out, law of attraction, even if it was whatever, right? And I would those would be my gasp for fresh air when I didn't realize that I've been drowning in negative thoughts. And I would stumble on one of them posts and I'm like, okay, maybe don't think about it. Maybe tomorrow will be a good day, right? And in that season of my life, and I'm going to have to put it to this and people are not going to like this, I did not come off depression I was a depressed I know I was depressed. I did not come off depression with pills. My mom made a decision, a very reckless decision to say, I'm going to take this boy out of depression with no pills. Now, guys, I want to let everyone know at home that I was really bad. Meaning I was fighting with family members. Meaning my brother were getting out of it. Meaning things were getting thrown around the house. Meaning I was I was no one living with me. And sometimes, people in my house were kind of like debating, do we send this guy to, just put him in the system, put him on those pills and just have him zoned out for mental health, Mm-hmm. And my mom's like, and she would think about it. And when she go to pray tonight, the Lord said, I know, we know as Christians, I know you don't see it, but are you going to go by sight? Are you going to see? I'm giving glory to God even as I say this. Everyone kind of sees me now and they're kind of like, oh, that's Tyson. If you saw me in 2019, 2020, if you saw me, I was a mess, and I know, and it's a complete day and night. Even when I think of myself and think about the things I used to do in the house when I was, causing issues here with my family, I'd be like, what made you do that? What? You have to be in such a low place to do certain things. I'll tell one story. I remember my parents laughed about something. I forget, they laughed about something. They were laughing about something, right? And apparently it was about me. And they were kind of not laughing at me, but they were, because I wasn't raised in a home like that. They were just kind of laughing about something that I did. And I was so angry. I was cooking eggs. I took the leg and I slammed it against the wall. I was just that guy who was just, You know what I mean? Completely unstable, you know? Just feeling like that. And I remember one time my mom asked me, what's wrong with you? I said, sometimes when I feel like when a fight is happening or I feel like the world is like crumbling down, you know? And I feel like the world is crumbling down. And I feel like this is the last moment. Almost you feel like, because when you're in a fight or when you're anything, you can almost rationalize, let me not slam the door because I'm going to regret it in about an hour when the fight is not so big anymore. I can do that now as a rational person, right? At that time, in that fight, it feels like everything's blowing up, everything's going, so forget about it, whatever. So you'll slam the door, you'll throw the egg, you'll whatever, because you're in that narrow-minded space where it's dark and you cannot think that, you know what, in 5 minutes, everything will be all right. In an hour, everything will be all right. You know, you kind of, you're a ticking time bomb. So, prayer, like I told you at the beginning of the podcast, lifestyle that got me out of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, follow me where I'm going with this. In that period of my life, I learned, don't you dare look at people and expect them that they all have to snap back and bounce back like you. If I did not have the support system that I had, I was a goner. And not every single person has the same support system. A praying mom who was well raised as well, who was whatever, not who will be patient with you. Some people are not patient. They'll say, they will send me to the system, put me on pills, and not say I'm on depression, I'm zonked out. Do you know what I'm saying? So listen to me. Now, when we look at as a community, I've always said this, and if I took you, Tatenda, and anyone at home, your mom, your dad, and your brother, and I locked you guys in a room, and I tortured you for 40 years of your life, 50 years. And after 50 years, I told you, all right, Tatenda, all you guys go out and be normal people. Yet I had locked you in a room for that time, and I teased you, abused you, I did everything like that. Yeah. Now, let's look at the black community. We locked them basically in a room for 400 years on the slavery side. Then there's colonization. Now, let's remember, I always skip this. Let's remember that even in Africa, while colonization, while slavery was happening, there was a colonial happening. There was black people being eaten by dogs in Africa, apartheid. Most of our parents just completely, Africa was under Western rule. Listen to me, right? Years and years and years and years. And now what I've learned about the black community. And then you said one day, okay, that's it, go free. You know what's going to happen? You know what will happen to me? And I want people to understand this. If it wasn't for my mom, bugging my mom, I would have had my son, and I would have raised another crazy nigga. And then he would have raised another crazy nigga. And I don't want people to just put this down to, oh, you know, all those cool people who smoke cigars and all those, you know, Andrew Tate fans, just get up and just effing get on with it and just get on with it. No, people are human beings. People are human beings. I thank my mom for remembering I'm a human being.
Yeah.
No, we're not robots. And just because you're good at that, yeah, and you have the strength to get your mind in the backspace, like, back up, well done to you. But I bet I can pull 5 things in your life that are crumbling that you're not good at. Like maybe relationships, or maybe honesty, or maybe other things that you do in your life that you're not good at. But maybe what you're good at is getting up, getting dressed, and going to work.
Yeah.
And you know how to apply yourself in those. But guess what? Some of those people are very good at the other side of their brain operates very well, like creative, emotions, and they're very good at actually giving love or nurturing.
Yeah.
But just because you're probably no good at nurturing, but you're good at going to work, being a good citizen, and whatever. But now let's put those people whose brains work on the other side, like we're finding out now that not every kid can learn sitting in a classroom. Some kids can learn sitting in a classroom. Some kids learn better when they're standing up, when they're active. And so we're learning the educational system is very flawed. And humans are different. They're broad. So now when we expect every single black person, when we came out of that, for example, let me put it like this for you. My mom was 16 years old when she came out of when she was finally came out of segregation. So for the first time in her life, she was 16 years old. My mom, how long ago was this? She was allowed to sit with white girls. That means that she saw things happening. That means her father saw things happening. Now let's go to her father. There are some people, maybe my mom was quite lucky. Let's say someone in her time's father, right? Same age as my mom, but that person's father. Let's say he was beat by the white man in Zimbabwe. Because that's a British man. And his master used to beat him and 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 beat him. And he would just cook, make food, or do whatever he's doing for his master. Now that guy finds a woman, has children, and he has to raise someone. And that would be, let's say, my mom. So now that woman, who's my mom's age, has now been raised by someone who is... Are you following me? We like to put as if this was ages ago. And people, Churchill, one of the Britain's most dangerous people for black people. Some people who were alive when he was in power. Some people are still alive from when he was. This is so stupid.
A lot of people think that Jim Crow ended. Jim Crow was alive and well when they were sending people to the moon. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Jim Crow ended just before they sent people to the moon. That was 1969, fam.
So you think, and so I'm going to ask two questions. You think everybody who was alive in those times who were agreeing with the treatment that should got cleansed their mind? No. Now let's go to the other side of it. You think everybody who was in the receiving end of that just had to and have amazing mental strength? No, a lot of our community raised dysfunctional people. A lot of our community passed on dysfunction, passed on trauma, passed on hurt. Do you know what I'm saying? And pass it on. And that is one of the main reasons why I love my mother for being honest. She goes, Harrison, I should have. It was my mistake. I came from living in Zimbabwe under British rule and oppression, moving to Ireland, and I never told my kids that, I was actually in class with Irish people who were bullying me and oppressing me along with British girls. And the reason why they were there, because they were colonizing Africa. Irish were accomplices in colonizing Africa. I was just traumatized that I came here and felt I wanted to let go of the embarrassment of everything and start a new life and help my children assimilate as well as they can. I'm getting to your point. So I love it when I look and I see the rappers and I can see that the pop artists on the other side can make music and their music is Baby I Love You or Rock Stars and then you go to the rappers, I'm gonna shoot that nigga. And I love it because I'm a rapper. Please, let's talk about this today. Because you're talking about how black women hate you, black men hate you, and right? And I'm gonna get you here today. Check this out, right? I'm a rapper and I listen to music. I'm like, what sickness is that? Where a rapper goes in the microphone and he says from the bottom of his heart and his gut, I'ma pop that nigga. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Where does that level and depth of self-hate and self-loathing? Because he won't say that to a white person. You know all the rappers. I know you rap fans will know it. We have catalogs, all different genres of styles of rap, of Negroes talking about how I'm going to pop that nigga. And we just say, and we just stupid, huh? The ones who think they're above that. Black people, see, all we do is, why? Why? What is you don't think it's a coincidence? That the same race that came out of this are the same race that I'll say, I want to pop that nigga. I'm going to, once I see that, and think of different poetic ways to say, when I see that nigga, I'll pop that nigga. What? Come on. Look at the dysfunction. And I love listening to a rapper, and I'm listening to him, and we give the rating to the best rapper. And I'm a rap fan. I can divulge in the rap. And how how different ways and intellectual ways and amazing artistic ways that he can articulate how he's gonna pop a nigga. That's who we give the GOAT to. Give us all the articulate and the and we like when I remember I'm gonna have to say it. Sorry, I got off. Future has a line that was big off of one of his ones I fell in love with. And he goes. I can't believe the blood ain't on my shirt. because it got hit close range. Like, we're finding different ways to paint a picture of just obliterating a Negro. And we love that. Let's take a look at that and where that comes from.
And where do you think it comes from?
That's why so I said to my brother, when you tell me why are we like this, or why do we make this music, I sit back and I actually feel so validated. I'm like, white people love to tell us this a long time ago, but here is the evidence. There is clearly a dysfunction. Like I use this example all the time. If I'm trying to look at a woman, and I'm trying to figure out what happened in her life, and a woman, right, and she's gone the streets, or she's doing crazy things, she's hoeing around or whatever, and I find out that this girl was being molested by her uncle every single day from the age of 5 years old. You know what I'll do in that moment?
What?
If I was her therapist, the day that she tells me that, I would say, I'd actually just go home that day and I would, because I was trying to figure out what was making her like this.
Yeah.
Right? And now what we've forced and manipulated the black community to do, it's not that. It's just because she's stupid. It's just because she's a hoe. No, but there's a history right here of every day being molested.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. Because some of us, yes, there are some people in the world who probably come out of that and go up and become the vice president of the United States. Well done. That doesn't mean every single human being has to be like that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I've noticed an attitude of, because I did it, it must be the same for you too.
Oh, and I learned that when I went through my depression, and I would look at people and I would say, oh my God, get over it. Oh, you have your pills, get over it. And I was a happy-go-lucky guy, big dimples, smiley guy. And when it hit me, and I realized how hard it was to get up, I love my mama, right? I love that woman, right? But you know what happened to me? I knew I was in a bad place. When my mom, every time she comes into in the kitchen or whatever, she will sometimes sing a worship music or praise music. I knew I was in a dark place when I was cussing my mom under my breath. I knew I was a dark guy, like, just because she was happy. Just shut your mouth. I knew I was dark. Because there was mama, she always singing a praise song, she was happy. Her happiness irked me. Because I was miserable.
And do you think that is something that, because the one thing that I've noticed online is that even when a black woman is actually just being very happy, doing amazing things or something, or she's just, for example, I've seen a lot of black girls do, like, for example, a soft life vlog. This is how I took care of myself today. And you will see so many black men saying, oh, bitches just want to do this, and you're just like, she's just living her life. So do you think they're in the same place? So
check me out. No, I'm not going to speak for some guys, because some guys, I think they were just raised with a hateful nature. So I don't even know that. I see those guys. I'm not going to try and diagnose that in this matter, right? Because I see some of the stuff that people are just hateful, and their parents were hateful for them. Now, I'm going to go the point I was doing with all this, right? So I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Now, let's look at this. Everyone, lean into me for a second. What makes a rapper say, I want to blitz that nigga? I want to pop that nigga? Now, I've studied it. This is the emotion that we have felt from society. And I like what you said. Listen, the white man don't got to do no more work. He pushed the button 400 years ago, and he set a system in our minds that now is doing most of the work itself. He ain't, listen. He's making money that's making money now. No, he do not have to stop to the street anymore and say, never anymore. He did that for 400 years.
He doesn't have to anymore.
Neither have to. The system is running itself now. But he just has to give it a gentle touch now. You see, beforehand we used to have robots, or we used to have robots like tape players, and you have to go and it was all manual. Now you can just say, Alexa, play this for me. But back in the day, you want to play something, you have to get the tape recorder out, you got to plug it in, you got to do all these things. That's kind of like what the analogy of what's happening with us now. Beforehand, he had to do it manually. Put hatred into Africa manually. Now he just has a soft touch. It's a subtle look that tells you, and now what now white people suddenly have to touch you in public, suddenly have to make an emotion that remind you where you are. Subtle. They did the hard work. The hard work was done years ago, not just for a small time, for hundreds of years. Now it's just subtle. Now it's just, Alexa, play that song for me. Everyone's like, whoa, look how easy that is now. All we gotta do is say Alexa and the machine start playing. Wow, technology's really moved on. That's like the Negro brain. Beforehand, we used to have to go in, get tape recorder, record on the tape recorder. After, you know what I'm saying? All these things we have to do manually to get us to play a song. Now we just say, Alexa, just get them off the internet. The same thing with the Negro. All you gotta do is just say a subtle thing. Oh, the sophisticated racism. An emotion. At this, at that. Now follow me and hear me. What you're seeing, I love when I look at Black Twitter. Black men do this. Black women do this. Black men do this. Black women do. I bet white people are looking at them saying, what is this freak show? And I'm like, hell right, it's not your freak show. That just proves that we're not pitiful people. What makes a race go at each other's neck like this? This is all a result of something. How can you deny it? You ever see us on Twitter?
Yeah.
Black men do this. Black women do this. Black women. You ever see white people talking about white men do this, white men do that? They just chilling watching us like, you know why? Because when we were getting whipped and with everything, they were at home playing patty cake with their siblings. When our parents were being traumatized and our grandparents were being traumatized and raising children in trauma, they were just playing patty cake, pa. Their homes were still intact. We were being upended, thrown left, thrown right, thrown this. Now we're seeing the results, the fruit of it, the mess on the floor. Yeah. And Black people hate each other. We hate ourselves. So I want you to understand that you say that your biggest enemy is become the Black person. And today I wanted to address that. You are technically right, but you're technically wrong. You're right because you're not wrong in what you feel. The most people I fell out badly are Black people. But that's what's made us now say Africa's stupid. And now everybody throws their hands up at Africa and no one wants to rehabilitate it. Because we have self-loathing. We've lost self-belief. We think that's our work. Look at us. We can't even build a country. We can't even build a nation. We're this and that. And then he is just playing off the machine, white man, that he propelled. And he's saying, yeah, y'all can't even run everything. While he's still benefiting off the machine and system that he set hundreds of years ago. And I'm going to tell you why it's self-hate. Right? A white person will do you dirty. A white person my home just see me. A white person will do you dirty. You still going to give the next white person a shot. Asian people are going to do you dirty. You still going to eat at that Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
It is you have internalized that lack of intolerance from your master. So you knew his patience with you was like this. It didn't take long for you to be put in the bad Negro box. It didn't take long for you to put in, oh, gee, here he's a criminal, or he's a bad one, or he's one of them ones. So that, and you know how I know? I was even watching Shahrazad Ali, and she was talking about how are you still a slave, and she was talking about how when the master comes, right, we love to laugh at white people's jokes. Like, you ever go, we're always exaggerating laugh. She goes, a lot of the time, white people don't even have to say nothing. You just start smiling from ear to ear. Because you always feel it's your thing. So, hi, you're pleasant. It's our plight, right? And I just want to touch on a point and I'll hop on and hop back off. The Spirit of the Lord has authority. I have not seen Black people go in the midst of white people and able to take authority in the workplace where they're facing racism. Take authority. This is why I know that Christianity that we have here, black people, is being colonized. And no wonder people are looking from the outside and wondering, why the heck are y'all praying and getting nothing done? I believe God's saying, don't put my signature on a lot of stuff you're seeing now in black communities, Christianity. It's cultural. It's colonized and it's cultural. Because God, the God of the Bible was, and all the Bible, he was in the thick of social injustice. And he had no spirit of fear, and he had spirit of authority. Let me go back. Just want to put that there, right?
Yeah.
We give them, the white man has 9 lives. I know it because I assess myself. I have neighbors here who don't, sometimes they can be rude, sometimes say hi, sometimes don't say no. But I will always have this fear of like, I need to say hi first because I just don't want to be perceived as a rude one who didn't say hi. So even though they can be up, you know, someone can be up, down, sometimes rude, sometimes nice, they can decide, they can play with you like that. And then when I decided to say this, I realized I was changing, I was uncooning, because I said, so what if they think I'm a rude Negro who's unsociable and uncivilized, and because he can't say hi, or he's rude, or not raised properly, or yeah, I heard about them black people, they're not raised properly. They don't have manners. Yes, that's probably what they learned in Africa. Yeah, and what? Yeah, that's why, and that's when I realized I was cool. My sister.
Yes.
That's not, it's not normal. If I look at a white dude, I have white dudes who've been messed over by white women. I've been white dudes who got white women who are big. It would never come out of a white dude's mouth where he says, I'm done with white women, I'm going to black women. It's not even a question in his mind.
It is so rare. I've only ever met one guy who did something similar, but he wasn't even anti-white women. He was just anti-women from the country he came from. He was still open to his race, just not that particular country. They don't neglect their race at all.
Now check this out. I heard my mom dropped this amazing badge the other day, and she said, you know, we were treated like animals. And how do you treat animals? You treat them in a pack. You don't actually give each animal personalities. So let's say a pack of, let's say to any regular monkeys. You're not going to say, I don't like monkeys. You're going to say, I don't like monkeys because monkey did you wrong. You don't learn to personalize and say, no, this monkey is different to that monkey and that monkey. So when you treat a monkey, it's like, dogs. You know, let's say people who don't have dogs, right? Because obviously we know people who are very good with dogs, but the animal kind of perception, right? We were treated like animals. We were treated like a pack of people. And when white men said, I had one bad experience, one black person, the black people are all like this. And it's a pack. Now we everything you see that we do to ourselves, we are now giving it back. That's self-loathing. That's self-loathing. So when you're saying, I'm more scared of the black person, more scared of the black person, right? What pisses me off about that, not with you in general, is that we're not a threat to him. I always say this. We're not, especially if I'm the European man, the Negro or his people are no longer a threat to me. They're not a threat to me. There are people who are self-destructing and self-thing, but they're not a threat to me. That's why it's okay. Wait till you see we get our stuff together psychologically again, and you're going to see the rednecks come back again.
Yeah.
You're going to see the rednecks come back again. When we now having what we want, trying to Black Wall Street, where we understand and we giving black people jobs. If a black person, that's what I say, no amount of money, and we go now to the Africa, no amount of money is going to help Africa out of the situation that we're in. Look how much black billionaires we're getting. Look how much black millionaires we're getting. We think it's success. It's psychologically. No amount of money is going to save the Africa, because we'll just take that money, our leaders, and they're going to give it right back to people. Because black people, You already know. My mom always tells us she works on a call line. She's a debt collector. And she's a debt collector. And the number one people who are going to say, I don't trust you, guess who it is?
White.
Black.
Really?
Black people.
Thought, because obviously for me, African accents are normal to me because but I would have thought that it would have been the British people where you live that don't trust the foreign accent.
No,
A Negro would rather trust a white man than trust his own first, especially with business, with his money, because he sees them like more trustworthy than him. She gets phone call. Not saying white people don't do it. White people do. They will say, who is this? Are you really from that company you're saying? They will try that. But the people who will just say, nah, I don't just add with it. And my mom always gives me a cheeky answer. And she goes, ask yourself why. I don't trust this phone. Why? And then they have to hang up the phone then and say, why didn't I trust her? Because she was an African woman. And I don't trust myself. I hate myself. I hate my people. So now it's a perpetuating thing. It's a perpetuating thing. There are some cases where people that's why even people say, so if you tell someone you're something enough, they don't become it. So there are parts of us that seem like, I'll do crime. But if we were known to be, one thing British are very good at, my mom always says this, is like, they understand that in the world they're known for being British people, and they know that dignity is their brand, right? It's a brand, and they're very good at understanding. That's why their racism is very sophisticated compared to the Americans, because hello, how are you? That's part of the brand. So it's not part of the brand to. Just what I'm saying. So they do things to uphold their family name a lot of the times. They do the black people. Follow me on this. I have to bring this to you today, sis. This is so huge. Check this out. She goes, think about a black person, right? Another time he'd be dodging, he'd be lying, lying. Sometimes because he already knows if he tells the truth of why he can't make this payment, will I be believed? Will they think that I'm a thief? Will they think whatever? So he now thinks the best way out is to maybe lie or to dodge, or couldn't pay the bill. And most times, mom said, most times you listen to me, no, this guy, you're lying about your bill, why you couldn't pay this, or you're lying. But a lot of time, maybe it's because I know where I stand as a black man. I know I don't have 9 lives. I got 3. Maybe 1. It's quick for you to criminalize me. So I'm afraid. Whereas white people say, sorry, couldn't pay it this month. We chat about this sometimes. We divulge. Sorry, I couldn't get to this month. Yeah, I got the situation there. My mum couldn't give me, didn't get the bill for that month. I don't know if I'm going to get back to maybe 3 months from now or something. Because his self-worth is not dangling on whether a stereotype. You know what I'm saying? His self-worth is not dangling on a stereotype. No one's waiting to say, I know about you blacks, right? That's what you guys do. Yeah. And we internalize that. So sometimes now the black man finds himself sometimes on the phone being a liar. Because he's trying to dodge a bill. Because he knows maybe he can't come out up straight and say, I don't know when I'm going to have the money next to the. Do you know what I'm saying? So we live with that burden on our back. You know what I'm saying? So this all goes to say, when we look at the condition of the Negro, we've internalized our oppression. And we now oppress ourselves, and we beat ourselves, and we operate in a lot of ways that stem from our treatment and whatever. And now the crook is getting away because he's now a smoother criminal, because he had loads of years to operate and realize what better ways to commit his crime. But look, just as well, Now the result of the damage and the trauma that's happened, a new word that everyone loves to talk about now on TikTok is trauma. The trauma is a real thing, right? So when we talk about Africa and we talk about the people who are suffering in Africa, and we talk about the fact that the white man is stealing from Africa, and we talk about the way that they're stealing from our resources, natural resources, that also is internalized oppression. The lack of self-worth. He's allowed to rob from our very eyes. And we hate ourselves too much to even care. You know what I like about, I watched a video clip recently. It was an Irishman, and he was on a train, and he was telling off a British guard. No, you people are this, you did this to my country. One thing you know about the Irish, you can never wear a British jersey walking through Dublin on Paddy's Day.
Yeah.
You may get your head taken off.
Yeah.
That is what you call self-determination.
Yeah.
But you will find African people in Africa celebrating the people who colonized us.
Yeah.
So how are these the same people who hold a sense of pride in ourselves?
Yeah.
You cannot wear. I've seen a football player, I forget his name, recently. They asked him, because he plays in England and he was raised in England a lot of his life. They asked him, would you play for England? He goes, not a chance. I wouldn't be able to go back.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't be able to go back to Ireland if I played for England. But with the very same token, they want you to forget your history. They want you to not care much about it. And then they ask you, if we don't like it, why are we here? Well, we are here because you are not aware of why we're here, because your people were obviously not going to teach you the history. That's what you're supposed to do. I give you that. But then where the trauma shows itself is, why didn't we teach our kids when we came here? We're here to pick up. Why? Because they tattered everything in Africa. But we love to bash ourselves.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm going to tell you something. Boris Johnson is as crooked as any African leader. But the only difference between Boris Johnson and African leader is that there's spare change left over. So he's stealing, and these big Trump people, you think Trump thinks of American people? He's a thief as well. But there's so much there that it actually topples over and the people can live. The only problem with Africa is that they steal as much as they steal, but there's not much leftovers. But us as people are always going to eat leftovers with these corrupt politicians. But the fact of the matter is that Africa's leftovers, which the people are eating, are smaller. So you think that all of that is going? Listen, with the wealth that Africa has, even if our leaders were eating some of it, they wouldn't even have that. They would even have some left over to give you for change. That's how much we're really worth. We just want to take our mind off the fact that it's the likes of President Macron. It's the likes of the European Union. It's the likes of these people, these faulty contracts that were signed. And after they beheaded our real revolutionaries, the ones who fought all the fight for revolution, the guerrilla wars, and then they killed them at the very end, and then they picked the side man, the one to say, okay, listen, we didn't want him to sign the contracts for decolonization. We'll have you sign it because he was too harsh. You're more balanced. He was too harsh, but that was the one who wanted us to get everything we were worth. And then the white man will tell you, nah, we didn't want his contract. And then they will put all over British news. Yeah, what's it called? Dictator. He's a dictator. Do you know when Mandela, we respected this man? When he was young, he was called, my mom tells me all the time, he was a terrorist. This guy was called a terrorist.
Oh my God.
But yes. Mandela wasn't always kumbaya.
Yeah, no.
He was a terrorist.
I knew, but I didn't realize he was actually known as a terrorist.
He was a terrorist, like Hamas.
Oh,
Hamas, yes. Promise you, I went to check it. Hamas, terrorist Hamas, like. You know why they gave him the medal that we gave him at the end? But he was fighting for his people. You know why they gave him the medal to do? Mandela, now they sing his praise. You know how much contracts he compromised on? When he finally was signed the contracts? But he was an old man. He wasn't young and vibrant anymore. He should have left the baton for other people to take off for that, and that would be the real revolutionaries. Africa will never be free until the consciousness of African people. We are people that don't give a damn about ourselves. Irish people, you have to understand when I look at them, it's not just about wearing the paddy cap and being everything. If you say, the British weren't wrong after all.
Oh, don't you dare.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Don't you dare! You tell the African, forget about old news. Yeah, I know. I'm just hardworking. I believe in working hard. And dude, who's stupid, bro? Sorry. Who's stupid? And this the Christianity we say? Do you know God how much generations he told his people? The Egyptians did you bad when you're this, and I will give you back that. Even God knows that it's not good to let things go. Things must be rectified. I remember there's one scripture, I forget what it is, it goes, I didn't like how these people, they waylaid them when they were in their captivity. And I will set that straight. Now, you're saying this is not a way to say, oh, revenge. This is a way to say your act of saying forget about it and that it's nullified is demonic. It's worship. You are worshiping the people because you don't want them to disapprove of you. Because it is impossible that an Israelite needs all that he needs from an Egyptian, and the Egyptian is going to be happy with him. So you are going to have to compromise how much you really know you are worth. So we have passed down compromise in order to worship the white man, to make him feel most comfortable. I heard someone leave a comment under my family member's post quite recently, my dad's post, and he said, oh, white people have been good to me even more than black people. Do you know I have a passport? They let me in their country. This is worship.
That is I don't have the word for it, except for I understand. It's almost like the Negro has essentially become a minstrel of himself. Who needs blackface when we do it?
But stop right there, babe. I was gonna call you babe because I'm talking to Till all the time. I'm always lecturing her. That's why I'm always giving these lectures. Check this out. Stop right there. There's a reason for this. There's a reason for this.
Why is that?
That's the point that I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that you have to see the wickedness in that. How is a black man become a minstrel of himself? It's not just because he's incompetent. That is a complete indication of the severity of the wickedness that happened to him. It's like we talked about with the girl. It's the severity. If you saw a girl was hitting the bottle and going to prostitute and going whatever, you'll be able to look directly at it and say, oh my God, that uncle must have been touching her every night. And even as you're looking at her doing whatever, you know that you're almost in the manifestation of the result, you're almost actually thinking of like, you're almost able to see directly into those days when she was being touched. Because the result is showing, right? It's like how you can smell yourself and you can smell, oh, it smells like I haven't showered for 3 days, right? Or, oh, why? Because the result, the smell is coming out is so strong. You're like, no, this ain't a 1 day one. No, this ain't or this thing, how long has it been washed? No, this isn't a dirty for like 2 weeks. this smells like it hasn't been washed in a long time. Why? Because the result it's showing, right? When I look at the severity of how black women will run away from dating, black men will run away from dating black women, and then how, like you said, you're there, the loathing for ourselves. All these things, I'm like, yes, it makes sense. It's evidence there. There's the evidence of the case that something happened to these people. And it's either you believe that, or you believe that we just were incompetent and we just designed a bunch of vices for us because we're just stupid, whatever. We would have been like them. Look at them. They're very normal in many ways, correct?
Yeah.
So they're normal just because they're better than us? No, because that same history didn't happen to them
Yeah.
the way it happened to us. So these are the results of that history. So what Africans need to understand is our job that will save Africa. And if anyone at home is wondering how we can save Africa, is this.